Good morning, LCS fifth graders. Welcome back to school, kind of, remote learning. This week we will begin our memoir unit for writing. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to just take you through a short little PowerPoint over the basics of and an introduction of what memoir writing is. So just take a few minutes to do this, and here we go. Today, we're going to define memoir and what memoir is so we know what kind of writing we're going to be doing. We're going to try to understand why it is important by reading some examples of memoir. So, what is a memoir? A memoir is a narrative story about a specific moment in an author's life. It is a story in which the author is remembering, reminiscing, and reflecting on an important experience in their own life. So what does all that mean? Well, let's break it down into some simpler terms. What it is and what it is not. So memoir is not an autobiography. We think about an autobiography, and it's a person telling a story of their life. But a memoir is not that. A memoir is something a little different. So what a memoir is not, number two, it's not a story where the author tells you how they feel. They show you how they feel. It is not a story that takes place over many months or years. That is a very important point there. It is not made up. It's not fake. Although some points in time, the details that are put into a memoir might be a little exaggerated. And so let's talk about what a memoir is. So a memoir is a story that has happened to the writer. It's an actual memory. A memoir is a story that makes you feel something, that makes the reader feel something. You want the reader, when you're writing a memoir, to feel happy, sad, mad, all the different feelings. You want to try to make the reader emotional. A memoir is something that has many moments that include memories about their family. So many of the memoirs are about the author's family or friends. So it's a personal memory. It is a story about events that are important to the writer. So in a nutshell, if we go back to here, a memoir is writing from the author about a significant memory that they have, something that is important to them. So when you write a memoir this year, you're going to be writing a story that has great significance to you. So let's look at a sample of a memoir really quick. Think back to this checklist of what it is as I read this. If you would like to pause the video at this time and read it on your own instead of hearing me read it, go ahead. No problem. So this is a sample of a memoir called Quietly Struggling by Kelly Bullenhone. It starts like this. I've always struggled with putting myself out in the world. When I was little, my mom would go to parent-teacher conferences, and every year she would come home with the same comment from my teachers. Kelly is very quiet. My mom would ask me if I could make a goal to speak up once a day in class, and I would try, but I didn't always succeed. Even today, there are times that I'm not outgoing. It is hard for me to be outgoing for many reasons. It can be hard for me to be outgoing because observing helps me feel more comfortable. I need to organize my ideas before speaking up or acting, and I don't want to look foolish. The first reason why it can be hard for me to be outgoing is because observing helps me feel more comfortable. In middle school, when I went to dances, I stood back before going out on the dance floor. Other kids just dove right into the middle of the floor and started moving to the music, but I couldn't do that. Even if I am on vacation, I like to take some time to watch before I jump in and start doing things. Like the time I went on a cruise. The minute I got on board, I was surrounded by people. There were people asking questions and carrying suitcases and blocking hallways and crowding into the elevators. I stood back and found a seat by a window and gave myself time to watch. It was hard for me to be outgoing and just jump into the middle of the action. Observing makes me feel more comfortable. So, what was unique about that piece of writing compared to other pieces of writing that we typically read? Well, let's go through a quick checklist and see if it matched up with our memoir or our characteristics of memoir. So it was written like a story that happened to them. So the writing was a story that happened to the author. Check. Perfect. It was written like a story. It was actually like a storyteller mode. Check. The author was telling a story about a memory. It was written in first person. That's a big thing with memory, with our memoirs. We want to write in first person. First person is writing with I, me, and my. So she did that. Check. It was written about something that was important to the writer. Check. That seemed very important to the writer. The writer made that very clear in the introduction and how she talked about her past experience with being quiet and how she struggled with that. And it also made the reader feel an emotion. Yes, check. It makes you feel some kind of emotion. If we were in the classroom right now, I bet I could call on 5 different people and they might have 5 different emotions that they get from the reading. However, it's meant to make the reader feel some kind of emotion. So that writing did all of those things. If you go back and look, this is just 2 paragraphs from a longer memoir that we will read more in the future. And that is called Quietly Struggling. So this writing right here was written by the actual author, and of course it's written by the author, duh, but it's about the author's life. It's about a memory from the author herself. And it follows a specific pattern that makes it unique. And that uniqueness is seen here in this checklist. So move on here. And here are some examples of some other famous memoirs that you will read, and if you have a chance to read them, and we might read some excerpts from some of them, but the actual author of the BFG that my class was reading wrote a memoir of his childhood, and it's called Boy, Tales of Childhood. So it's specific memories from his childhood that he put out there. And then there's A Boy Named Boomer. It's by an NFL quarterback about his life growing up. The third book in the row is called Memoirs of a Goldfish. Very, very interesting book. Wonderful read. We're going to might try to sneak some excerpts from that in. And then the last one I have on here is by Suzanne Collins. It's called Year of the Jungle. And that is a memoir of some memories she has from her childhood as well. So that's all I have for today. Very simple video. We didn't go in depth, and we didn't do that for a reason, because on Thursday when I make the next video, we will talk about the structure of a memoir. We will view more examples and go more in depth with some unique characteristics of memoir. And then we will also get started brainstorming our own memoir. I apologize for the typo there. We will get started brainstorming our own memoir, and I will give you the topic for what you will be brainstorming for. So thank you for joining me today. If you would like to go back and view the example, feel free to rewind the video and read and go through the checklist again. There's also some more great videos on YouTube of what memoir is, but keep in mind that we will go over some more examples, and I will go way more in depth on Thursday. Everybody have a great day. I miss you guys. Goodbye.